Imagine this. A woman and her husband rushed through the emergency room doors. She was 8 months pregnant, drenched in sweat, and her blood pressure was 180 over 95. She was having a hard time breathing, and her baby's heart rate was low. Nurses and doctors gathered around the pregnant woman to decide what their first course of action should be. This next decision was critical, as it could be the difference between life and death for both the mom and the baby. As I pursue my dream of becoming an obstetric nurse, this is a situation that I could be a part of. Hi, I'm Ryan James, and my topic this year in Independent Study and Mentorship is obstetric nursing. My quote for this year is never be afraid to try something new. Remember, amateurs built the Ark, professionals built the Titanic. I chose this quote because one of the many things that led me to ISM was the opportunity to let go of my fears, step out of my comfort zone, and take my first steps into the professional world. Yes, I was afraid, and no, I didn't know what to expect for my first informational interview, but one thing that I did know was that this is going to be a great learning experience. I chose to interview 5 professionals who are all OBGYNs around the Metroplex at different hospitals and practices. My first interview was with Dr. Ashley Zink, who works at Children's Hospital in Plano. Dr. Zink and I talked a lot about the disadvantages as well as advantages becoming a doctor and a nurse, and why she chose to become a doctor, and the pros and cons of each. I really appreciated her input and what she gave to me and her guidance for my next step in my college process. My next interview was with Dr. Sushi Desai, who works at Women's Specialists of Plano. With her, I talked about the long hours to expect as being an obstetrician. Prior to independent study and mentorship, of course, I knew that becoming a doctor was a strenuous process. But one thing that you could say I was naive about was how long the hours are for an obstetrician, because babies come at all times of the day. If you're on call, you could be eating, you could be sleeping, but you have to go to your job. So one thing that she told me was a story about when she was during her residency. She would finish her rounds at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and then by 7 o'clock that same day, she would have to go to class. So she was tired, she was stressed out, but one thing that kept her going was her passion and her love for helping women in the field. Another thing that we talked about was her experience studying abroad. She studied abroad during her fellowship with her professor at Washington, and she went to Ethiopia and Guatemala just to help with medicine, help children around there and women. And she said it was just a great learning experience for her to learn so much more about different cultures and how medicine applies in different countries. So I thought that was just a great opportunity to learn more about studying abroad and really think about that in my college process. My next interview was with Dr. Catherine Holt, who works at Baylor Medical Center of Frisco. Dr. Holt and I talked a lot about her challenges right now, which is balancing her family life. She's a mom and a wife, and she has 3 kids at home, and then her patient life as she has her own practice at Baylor Medical Center. She said right now it's hard for her to balance giving 100% to her patients and 100% at home. So that's one thing for me to look forward to, is to know what to expect from this profession and in my future. This is not just a short term, it's a whole career that's going to last hopefully my whole life. So that's something that I really need to pay attention to. My 4th interview was with Dr. Christy Kidd, who works at Adrica Women's Health Center in McKinney, Texas. And Dr. Kidd and I talked a lot about the study skills and being able to really learn what your study skills and your organization skills are now in high school, because one thing that she struggled a lot for in college was she wasn't really prepared for medical school, and she wasn't prepared for the hard work because she never took hard classes in high school. So she struggled with the amount of work that she was given in medical school and being able to balance it all in her outside life and just being independent in college. So she said the best advice she could give me was to really prepare myself and develop my study skills now in high school. My 5th and final interview was with Dr. Tracy Banks, who also works at Adrica Women's Health Center in McKinney, Texas. And Dr. Banks and I talked about the journey to obstetrics, her journey to obstetrics. She said hers was a little bit different because she started out as an accountant, and then during her college she figured out that this wasn't the job for her. She wasn't into the routineness of of accounting, so she changed to obstetrics, and she found out during her rounds that she loved helping women and really had a passion for that. But she said one thing that she struggled with in high school was being able to tell the difference between that something that she thought was her hobby and something that she had a passion for, which is something that I'm struggling with right now. So her input and her comfort into knowing that as long as you find a passion, you work hard, then you'll be fine in the long run. So I'm so grateful for all my experiences with all these wonderful professions, and I just hope that I can have the profession that they have one day. After my interviews with all these women, I did a lot of secondary research over topics that I still had questions about or topics that I wanted to learn more about that I heard them tell me. So I did research over first just about the basics and the education requirements for becoming a nurse and then going through nursing school, and then after that what you do. And then I also wanted to learn about the history and the evolution of the medical field in obstetrics. I wanted to learn where it started and how it's evolved since then and the progression of it, because I think it's really important to know the mistakes that were made in the past so I can contribute. When I become a nurse, I can contribute to some things to help it progress in the future. I found it really interesting to learn how far obstetrics has come in the last century, and I'm really excited to see the contributions that I can make to improve the medical field for generations after me. Like the American actress Rachel Boston once said, "Keep looking up. Learn from the past, dream about the future, and look up. There's nothing like a beautiful sunset to end a healthy day." I really look forward to the experiences as well as challenges that obstetric nursing will bring. I can see myself with a team of doctors making critical decisions that will ultimately save the lives of moms and babies in the future.